Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breakthroughs with Bree. On this podcast, we are discussing all of the topics that help us have breakthroughs on our personal and spiritual development journeys. My name is Bree, otherwise known as Healing with Bree, and I'm a channeler, energy healer, tarot reader, astrologer, and soul alignment coach. My mission in my work and in this podcast is to help teach people how to shift their consciousness, how to heal, and how to release beliefs and patterns and fears of their ego mind so that they can step into alignment with their soul to live lives of abundance, purpose, and bliss. In these episodes, I will be sharing either through my own lens and my own channel or through the experiences of my guest, wisdom and expertise about healing, spirituality, psychology, personal growth, holistic wellness, mysticism, consciousness, and so much more. My hope is that these conversations help you feel seen and provide support and inspiration for you with your own personal breakthroughs. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Breakthroughs with Bree. Today, we have one of our monthly forecast episodes. We're doing the energy forecast for the month of July here in 2024. Now, I'm going to do it a little bit differently, just in that the spread that we're going to pull, which is the questions that we ask the tarot cards, it's just going to be slightly different, but it's really going to be the same vibes. And we're doing something fun since we have officially passed halfway through the year. 6 months have been completed. I'm going to do a mid-year check-in before we do the monthly forecast with the tarot cards. I'm still going to be talking about the numerology. I'm still going to mention a little bit about the astrology so that we can really get the flavor of what energy is available to us this month and the way that the universe might be nudging us along our path. And I'm excited to tell you more about it. Before we get into the tarot cards, I have a really fun announcement. I am doing a free workshop on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific that is all about self-worth. It's going to be called the Know Your Worth Workshop. And in this workshop, we're going to be deconstructing ideas and concepts around self-worth, us thinking that our self-worth is contingent on what we do. If we have a little bit of productivity addiction, if we think that the results that we get are what make us good enough for things, or even that our worth is based on our goodness and our acts of goodness to other people, which creates a fear of doing anything wrong. All of this can signal that we have our self-worth tied to things that it shouldn't be tied to. In this workshop, we're going to be deconstructing the 3D self-worth concepts, the things that have told us that our self-worth is defined by very human sort of ways. We're going to deconstruct this in a really cool way. It's all information I got through channeling with the Akashic Records, and it is powerful. And we're going to be activating true soul deep confidence. Not only are we going to break apart why we struggled with self-worth before, but we're going to rebuild that up with the truth as it is according to our souls. And I'm doing this workshop all for free because this information is something that can help activate unshakable confidence in you. The kind of confidence that even when things go wrong, you don't start to question your own self or if it was your worth. When you desire things, the first thought isn't, oh my gosh, am I good enough for that? That's the kind of confidence that this kind of information can offer you. And I'm so excited to bring it to you in this workshop. So check out the description of this episode on my link tree. There's going to be registration for it. I highly recommend you attending it live because there will be some interactive portions, but I am going to offer people who register for the event to be able to access the recording a few days after the event. Eventually, this will be a digital product that is for sale. So I really encourage you experiencing it live and for free while that is available. Remember, Saturday, July 20th, Know Your Worth Workshop with me, Healing with Bree. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm excited to see you there. Now let's do the mid-year check-in with the tarot cards. So I will remind everybody that the card of the year, when we did the yearly forecast in January, was the Strength card. Major Arcana 8, which is very synchronistic because the numerology for the year for the collective is also an 8. So this year we've been on a theme of finding our inner strength. This inner strength isn't about brute force and rigidity. It's actually about such a deep self-connection and deep conviction in oneself that allows you to be flexible and very emotionally resilient, be able to approach things with grace and compassion because you know the truth of yourself, you know the truth of your soul, you're connected to what's important to you, you're connected to that love energy. And so it allows you to withstand, I say in quotations, because are you really withstanding anything when you're in the energy of love? You're just flowing, right? But allows you to really be in that resilience and in that conviction of who you are and what's important to you. And that is the journey that we're on this year, according to the tarot cards. Now, halfway through the year, I asked 2 different questions to the cards. One, what have we made a lot of progress on so far in the first half of this year? And what is the opportunity that we have in the second half of the year? And what energy are we moving moving through there. Both of these cards are very fortunate, by the way, so there's nothing to be afraid of. What we've moved through so far this year is Major Arcana 6, the Lovers, and what we're moving through in the second half of the year is the Nine of Cups. And if you're watching on video, I'm showing the cards to the camera so that you can see the imagery and all of the energy that it evokes. So this Major Arcana 6, the Lovers card, is a very fortunate card. It's a very fortunate card whenever it comes up, and it signals divine love, divine commitment, how love in itself is kind of a portal to us even understanding the divine. It's a very harmonious and kind of sweet card. The way that I would interpret this is I feel like we've definitely learned a lot in the first half of this year about our love energy within ourselves, and especially in partnerships and in our commitments. The Lovers can mean commitment to people and like your love partner, but it can also mean the other relationships where you feel and you're expressing love for people. It can also be other places where you have like really long-term commitments. Maybe it's for your career, etc. And the places where you have these sort of like loving commitments become a place where you can exercise your nature, like your soul nature in the world in a way that creates really positive ripples. They become places where you can find what real love means, because naturally when you're in relationship to something, and especially in this human realm, which is the whole point, is that we might find some bumps in the roads or some challenges, and those are opportunities to really deepen into what love really means, and it gives us the opportunity to choose that sort of divine soul-based love versus what, you know, we humans in this 3D world might call love. And we've really had opportunities to expand into that so far in the first half of this year. Now, what we're going to have the opportunity to experience more of and move through is the Nine of Cups going through the rest of this year. This is also a super fortunate card. This is the world is your oyster, wishes fulfilled kind of card. If you're looking at the image, it's a guy sitting right in front of a row of 9 cups, just looking happy as a clam. And this card represents a certain kind of energy and emotion, a feeling that we're at that makes us magnetic for literally anything that we desire, hence the wishes fulfilled sort of nickname for the card. The key to this energy is that we are in such a state of bliss and gratitude and feeling of abundance. Like we feel it in our own body. We feel it about every little thing in our life. And in that energy, we become super open to all of the other desires and things on our hearts because we're in such a place of contentment. It feels like that energy really wants to flow to us the rest of this year. It really wants to teach us some lessons about maybe how we can embody that more of the time, or maybe how we can just deepen into that experience in general. So if this kind of concept is not already, you know, on your mind and a part of your practice of how you can be in that state of bliss and gratitude and seeing abundance everywhere and letting yourself connect with your desires, but not necessarily be too attached to them. If that's not an energy that you find that you're already familiar with, I would recommend that you just consider opening yourself up to that energy and maybe posing that question of like, what does that feel like? What does it look like when I incorporate more of that in my life? Or at the very least, just kind of keep your eyes peeled for when this kind of message or this kind of energy comes knocking on your door, wanting to teach and really to give you things, because this energy is only ever giving and blessing you because you are tapping into the energy of knowing how blessed you are and how much you really give yourself when you're in that connection with your own power and the magic that's everywhere in your life. So that is the mid-year check-in for 2024. We're still on our journey of understanding and deepening into this strength. So far, we've really been able to experience and learn a lot from the Lover's energy, the Major Arcana 6. And in the second half of this year, we are going to be learning and having the opportunity to move through that 9 of Cups energy. All right, now let's talk about July. The spread that we did for July is what is the main energetic theme of the month? And we have the Queen of Cups, which is very fitting because we are in Cancer season. The cups are the sign of water, of intuition, of emotions. Cancer is a water sign, so it indicates all those same things. We love a synchronicity. In addition, I pulled 2 other little mini spreads about where we can receive some energy from our higher self, from God, from source, from the universe, whatever you want to call it, and then some guidance on what we might need to be releasing in order to receive that initial energy more fully. And once we let ourselves open up, receive, let it flow through us, release what we got to release, what the potential outcome is of that area. And we have two of those areas. And then we'll wrap up with what can we do to start receiving the blessings and the energies from our soul today as we're moving through the energy of this month. So let's get into it. For the energy of the month of July, we are really tapping into the Queen of Swords energy. We are gaining more maturity in our own emotional and spiritual well-being, connecting with our intuition, connecting with love, connecting with our spirituality, and really bringing that nurturing energy into our life through those parts of connection with ourselves. We have seen the Queen of Cups in previous monthly forecasts, so it really feels like this emotional maturity is something we're working on extra this year, which totally makes sense with that strength card being the theme of the overall year. Our ability to move through our own emotions, to understand them, and really to feel them. And it's more than even just feeling them. And this is something that I've had the opportunity to dive into recently, is that it's letting them move through your body and allowing the sensation of them, but it's also not getting lost in them. Because I feel like what happens often is the energy of these, because emotions are energy in motion, right? So the energy of it in our body that has a certain sensation that we would label a certain type of emotion, usually we have some sort of story that's attached to that emotion, especially the really hard ones like shame or fear. Usually there's this whole story that we tell ourselves as soon as we start to feel it, but that is the story of the ego and of like the human in us, okay? But really, in its essence, it's just a sensation moving through the body. That's it. It doesn't have to mean anything. Now, what's interesting is when we receive them and we let them move through, we can start to see the stories and the patterns of our own ego mind. And once we see them, we have the opportunity to work with them, aka alchemize them, aka reprogram them. Like we have the opportunity to do a lot of things that grant us freedom, right? Which is the kind of work that I do with people in my coaching programs. But this energy of moving through things with that maturity is also a spiritual maturity, because this is also a very spiritual kind of card. So the way that I've articulated this to myself recently is, how can I let the sensations and the feelings in my body move through while keeping myself plugged into my soul perspective of things, right? Because they're different frequencies, they're different kinds of energies. So for me to be able to sort of like step back and observe the feelings and maybe the associated stories that come up with those feelings without like jumping right into the middle of them and assuming that they're true and then getting lost in the drama and the this and the that and just making it drag on and making it feel so much worse and like nothing really felt better at the end of it. Instead of doing that, what I can do is I can stay plugged into that perspective of that soul, of that higher self while the things move, and I can almost like letting it play out on a stage, right? And watching the play and being like, ah, I see. There was kind of an assumption of this that's inherent to this whole story. I don't know if that's really true. I don't know if that's in alignment with how I'm understanding myself to be, which is source. Or maybe you're letting it play out and you're saying, oh, yeah, I don't really believe that anymore. I can see that there's like an underlying belief to all of that, to that story, to that experience that was tied to this emotion. And I really think I'm ready to let that go. I'm starting to learn a new truth. And I think that that can replace this old one and alleviate a lot of the pain that is underneath all of this. So I'm so glad that I could see that now by all of the information that comes up when we let those emotions move and feel and be digested through the body. So anyway, this card has come up a ton this year. And again, that does not feel like a coincidence at all. We're learning to deepen into our emotional and our spiritual maturity. And it feels like our ability to do what we came to this planet to do, whatever our unique purposes are, the ways that we can shine through the unique light of our own souls, is contingent on our ability to move through and release the fears, the traumas, the patterns of our ego as they come up. That is required. That's inherent. And that is what I'm doing with people in my Soul Power program, by the way, is for people that have a vision of what it looks like when they're shining through the light. Maybe it's a certain job or service that they're providing to the world, and they have this vision of what that could look like, but they feel blocks come up that kind of prevent them. Maybe you shining through the light of God, of source, of just yourself to the world is how you interact with your loved ones. Maybe it's how you show up for your kids or for your partner or for your family. Maybe you want to be able to shine through a person that is more patient or more present or more loving or less on edge, or like whatever it is that feels like it's blocking you from showing up as that person. Maybe it's showing up that way in the job that you have that's not necessarily a spiritual job. Maybe that's what feels like it is, right? You being able to let that light move through you and out into the world, and for you to start to experience those things things that you desire, and for when that energy is moving through you to create the life that you dream of, is what I'm helping people do, is that soul powered life. The tricky part for people is doing what this whole card just described, which is how to move through the triggers, the patterns, the fears. And we just haven't really been taught a way to do that. And so that's what I'm working with my clients to teach them. I'm helping move through it with them through the iterations of the 4 months that we're doing the sessions together. But really, I'm teaching you how to do it with yourself. So the rest of your life, you have the tools to move through and alchemize any of those heavy, dense energies of the ego that aren't true, find the truth, let it go, and stay and hold that soul energy, that soul frequency, so that you can just keep shining that light out into the world in whatever way it's meant to be for you. So I just want to say I have a couple more spots left in my program. I do have a little bit of a discount for people who sign up before the end of the month of July. So check out my website, healingwithbree.net, if you are interested in learning more, or if that sounds like something that resonates with you, and you can schedule a clarity call there. So one of the energies that the universe is letting us know that we have the opportunity to receive this month, to experience this month, is the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is a really fun card. The energy underneath this card involves ambition, it involves momentum, and it involves like really making things happen. So if you've had certain goals or things that you feel really excited about, and you've been ready to be in that like go, 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 let's make it happen kind of energy, that energy really does want to come in and flow into your body and really help create some momentum. Now, the next cards are about what we will likely need to release as we start to embody more of this Knight of Swords, this moving and grooving, going after what we want kind of energy. What we're going to have to release is the King of Pentacles. And what is going to help us release that energy is the Six of Pentacles. This is an interesting spread, and this is how I interpret it. The King of Pentacles can be known as kind of a traditional dude, doing things in kind of a traditional, maybe somewhat 3D way, because Pentacles is the suit of earth, of material. And of course, the material world is the 3D worlds. Now, he can be super responsible, and he can be super abundant in his devotion and his dedication. And again, like really committed to that traditional way of doing things, which can yield results. But it feels like for whatever this Knight of Swords card sparked in you, inspired in you, I feel like you might not be doing it in traditional ways. I feel like you might have to let go of some of what, classically you should do to make it happen, to pursue your ambitions. You might just have to let that go, let yourself be a little bit more flexible. The swords are the suit of air. It's a very flexible thing, that air. Maybe you're being a little bit more flexible about it. And if you're finding yourself having a hard time releasing whatever this kind of traditional classic approach that the King of Pentacles is representing, something that's going to be a really nice antidote to that, or that's going to help that energy really release, is the Six of Pentacles, which is all about generosity. And what's funny is that it's in the same suit, it's in the Pentacles. So there is associations with, maybe it is material goods, maybe it's money that you have that you want to donate and you've been feeling an urge to, but it can also be like your expertise or your knowledge or your wisdom too. So wherever you feel like you could be generous and like truly give of the heart, or something that you quote unquote have, again, doesn't necessarily have to be material, but it can be, but something you have that might benefit somebody else, that's a really fabulous energy to be in and to act on. Again, ask your intuition, like how it wants to move through you as it relates to these cards. But both of the things that those cards indicate feel like it's going to help you get this momentum that you've been wanting as it relates to your goals and your ambitions. And the possible outcome on the other end of that is the Two of Cups. I love getting the Two of Cups and the Lovers in the same spread, because to me, they have somewhat of a connected energy. The Cups cards, having to do with emotions and intuition and all that kind of stuff, also have to do with love and relationships. And the Two of Cups in particular is a very fortunate card, because it talks about a very connected and harmonious and balanced and sort of karmic relationship, ones that's really sweet, where there's a lot of love between these two people in these cards. Right? This does not have to necessarily mean a romantic partner. This can be friendships. This can be relationships with family members. Again, this can be relationships with career, but there is some sort of really sweet relationship, partnership energy that is arising as an opportunity on the other end of all of the work that you're doing through these other cards that we mentioned. So again, if that's part of what your goals are, maybe for you uniquely, is to have some sort of really amicable and sweet and balanced and reciprocal kind of relationship in some area. Keep in mind all the things that that particular little mini spread in this month of July had for you about how you might be able to move through that energy. Okay, let's talk about the second area that the cards are indicating for us. The first card is, what energy can we receive this month? What energy does our higher self, the universe, God, really want to bring into us and fill us with so that we can experience? And this is the King of Wands. What energy are we likely going to need to release? And this is Major Arcana 7, the Chariot, which is very auspicious because that has associations with the sign of Cancer and Cancer season, which of course we're in. What energy is going to help us do and have that release? And that's Major Arcana 5, the Hierophant. And what is the potential outcome of this whole situation for us? And that is the 10 of Pentacles. Let's talk about it more. So first of all, the energy that we want to receive is the King of Wands. What a fun energy to have. The wands are very lively. They're very energetic. They're very confident, very charismatic. The King of Wands in particular understands his inherent power over energy, like the literal energy all around him, the energy within him. And that makes him very, very powerful, particularly in creating his reality. It feels like the guides in the universe want us to receive and experience a little bit more of that charisma, of that fire, of that confidence and power that we have. Now, as we start to receive that energy, and maybe just for everybody uniquely, you sit in meditation and you tell your higher self, I receive the energies of the King of Wands, and just sit in it and see what it means to you, how you personally receive it and experience it, and see what happens. But what likely will come up as you start to embody and let that energy move through you is that you're going to feel the energy of the Chariot come up in a way that's connected to something that you need to release, so that you can embody the King of Wands energy a little bit more. And this is Major Arcana 7. And like I said, that's interesting because there are associations with this and Cancer season. What it feels like in the spot that it's at in the spread is that things might have to fall apart a little bit. The Chariot can have associations for when things finally start to come together, like we're pulling it all together and we're getting things moving. But in this spot of what we need to release, we might need to release the need to have it all together for a minute. Maybe to come into our inherent power and knowing of how powerful we are and mastering our own energy, et cetera, et cetera. We might have to let it fall apart for a second. We might have to let that outer shell get cracked for a moment and let whatever's inside spill out. And honestly, that feels like it's going to be to our benefit, especially in a month that is going to be so emotionally plugged in. It feels like there's probably some repressed emotions, some repressed feelings that are left undigested in the body that need to come up, and that you might have associations with that, meaning that things are falling apart. So you therefore have to let things fall apart, I say in quotations, in order to really let them be felt and to learn from whatever they're trying to teach you. And they're teaching you something about your inherent power if they're coming up in association with this. Now, something that's going to help you do that, maybe help things fall apart for a minute, is Major Arcana 5, the Hierophant. The way I'm interpreting this is whatever your like spiritual practices are, maybe they're religious, maybe they're spiritual, maybe they're consciousness based, like whatever they are, I feel like those are going to be something really good to support you as you move through really deep and probably difficult feelings if they're ones that you're repressing in the first place. I feel like that structure and that perspective of, that which is bigger than us and our ability to connect with something that has unlimited wisdom or that unlimited love that again can support us as we're moving through some really tender, human emotions. I feel like that's going to help make that process a little bit easier for you. So don't be afraid to fall back on some of those practices during this time. And the most encouraging part about all of this is what the potential is, and that's 10 of Pentacles. This card is the card of abundance manifested, like fully manifested in your life, for your family. There's aspects of generational wealth, you being able to share the fruits of your labor, especially with us coming into this 9 of Cups energy this year. This card of generational and manifested abundance feels like it's very connected with this 9 of Cups card because they both have connections to that frequency of abundance. And that frequency of abundance is truly an internal experience. It's a way that we're choosing to relate to the world. It's an energy vibration that's moving through us and therefore signaling out into the universe what circumstances it should create for us. So your ability to tap into your power, this King of Wands, your ability to be responsible and take ownership and influence your own energy and therefore the energy around you. Let some of those emotions flow through, let it fall apart for a minute, because that is when it feels like you're going to be able to access this truly abundant type of energy so that it can start manifesting in the world around you. And finally, our last card of the spread is what energy is going to help us start receiving all of these blessings from our soul, receive all of these lessons, all these integrations that the universe, our soul, wants to bring us in the month of July. And that card is the King of Swords. It's so interesting when the swords cards show up with a lot of water cards, because on first glance, they kind of appear to be opposite. The water cards are very emotional, very inflow, very spiritual. And the swords cards are the suit of the mind, of logic, of reason. And again, we can think that those are opposite, but they're really not. I feel like what this card is saying is we got to learn to master our mind a little bit. Again, the kings have this sense of mastery and responsibility and our ability to do it for ourselves. And if it's relevant to the world outside of us as well. And I feel like taking responsibility for our own beliefs and our own thoughts and having that ability to be sort of like neutral, maybe a little bit clinical, tends to be a little bit of the sword stuff, but be able to like see what's happening in our own mind, like see what's happening with our own thoughts. And that does not have to be a judgmental thing. And I highly encourage that it's not. Judgment does not help anything. It's a form of resistance. And what resists persists and usually grows a little bit stronger because the energy we're using to fight it is just energy that fuels it. We're not judging things. And if there's a part of you that's an inner judge, that's also a pattern to recognize as well and not judge the judger, right? Our soul energy knows how to do this so well. That Queen of Cups that's connecting to that spirituality, to that unconditional love, like we know how to do that. The true we that we are, Source knows how to do that really easily. So maybe let that energy help guide us as we're starting to take inventory of the way that we're thinking and believing about the world. What stories are we really holding on to about ourselves? I'll tell you what, for me in this last month, some stories that have really shifted is the way that I am thinking about my own body and my health. At that big one event that I did an episode on in episode 48, which I so highly recommend that you listen to. It is so juicy for you living a really authentic, soul-powered kind of life. Oh, it's so good. But one of the things that one of the speakers spoke about at that event was how we have access to literal life force energy because we are life. Source is life. Right? Life force energy is the like purest form of health. It's the purest form of vitality. It's the purest form of joy. And that energy we have access to run through our body, to run through ourselves at any time, and an abundance of it at that. And a lot of times when we're experiencing health issues, right? One, it's a symptom of there being energies in the body that have been left undigested and are trying to come up and come out, and they come out through the physical body because we've not moved through it on an energetic level at some of those higher frequencies. So it comes down to move out in the 3D. But one of the things that we have access to, again, is this life force energy that is more influential and more powerful than any of these 3D states that we're in. Our 3D human material states are not fixed at all. They're constantly responding to the vibration that we are resonating at. And part of what makes the vibrations that we resonate at are our thoughts and beliefs. So me letting go of stories that, I have some sort of health issue that can't get better, blah, 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 like stories of despair and sadness or whatever. Like, why did I need to be attached to those stories? I didn't. If I sit with them, I might learn a little bit about why, but ultimately I don't have to be attached to them. And my beliefs can change as quickly as me just deciding to believe something different and me believing that I have access to life force energy that can run through my body and literally be miraculous in how it heals, or that it can guide, inspired action to exactly what might help in combination with the life force energy create really cool healing and vitality. Like I have stopped taking supplements. This is a total sidetrack. I've stopped taking supplements. I rarely drink any coffee, even though that's funny because today I have some. And I feel the best that I've ever felt because instead of trying to create health through 3D things, my primary thing that I'm doing to help address my health is letting this life force energy, really intentionally connecting with it and letting it run through my body and guide me about my own health. That is a belief shift, me releasing some of those old stories about what's possible or how my health is conditional, et cetera, and embracing a new belief based on something that I learned from somebody that I really resonated with. All that kind of stuff definitely helped, right? And me deciding to believe something else that felt more true, that felt more in alignment with what I know I am, which is my source energy, my spirit, and with my soul. And that's the kind of thing that the King of Swords energy can help you do, like be the master of your own mind. So maybe this month, take a little bit of inventory as, maybe things fall apart a little bit, talking about the Chariot card, or just in general, as you're in this very intuitive and emotional Cancer season, kind of Queen of Cups energy. Take inventory of what thoughts tend to be paired with painful feelings, and maybe step back and ask yourself, like, are these thoughts really true? Like capital T, aligned with the truth of my spirit, true? Or is there some faulty logic here? Are there lies? Are there distortions? And can I be brave enough to let them go and to be open to or embrace something that is more true and that does not cause me pain? It's just something to consider. I am going to take a quick break, but before that, I just want to remind you guys that I do have tarot sessions available. So if you like getting messages from the tarot, I have a mini session that's under $100. Woo! So abundant to have options. And then I have a full reading. I record them so I can send them to you. They're kind of like getting channeled messages and working with the tarot and a little bit of spiritual coaching, like all in one session. And they're so, so fun. Whether you have a specific topic that you would really like some more specifics on, maybe you're trying to tap into different paths and the energies about them, or maybe you don't have a specific topic and you just want general guidance, they're a really fun way to get that information from your team. So you can book those at healingwithbree.net. I do, as of the time I'm recording this, have 4 sessions available in July, mostly on Wednesday afternoon or evenings. So go ahead and check that out on my website. And I hope that we get to do a tarot session soon. All right, let's talk about the numerology for this month. As you guys know, it's year 8, associations with personal power, abundance, prosperity, achievement. I wonder how your ideas about those energies, how you're relating to those energies has already changed halfway through this year. Might be something kind of fun, maybe to journal on or something. But anyway, that's the numerology of the collective for the full year. To get the numerology for the month, we add the number of the year, which is the 8, with the number of the month, which is 7, of course, for July. That together is 15. We add the digits together to get down to a single digit. 1 plus 5 is 6. So the numerology of this month is a 6, or more simply, if you've been following along, last month was 5. So that means this month is 6. So we have a 6 for numerology for the month of July. Associations and themes with the numerology of 6 is relationships, love, healing, home, and magnetism. I will just give a shout out. Most of this numerology information I get from Caitlin K. Hart's book, You Are Cosmic Code. So if you want to learn more about it and you really like numerology, it's like a tiny little book that I could fit like in my purse, like the size of my hand. And it's really fun. So according to the book, and a little bit of channeled information about this as well, is that the 6 is the energy of the nurturer. And what's really wonderful about it coming after a 5 energy, a 5 month in this case, is that in that state of trying new things, we tend to find what resonates for us and also release things that just don't anymore. This can be a process of deciding or like realigning what our values are, what things that we really value in life. And the 6 is a really beautiful number because this energy is where we nurture those things that are important to us. We feel a little bit more of a sense of like responsibility and duty to things than in the 5. The 5 was a really free, let's be moving, let's just go adventure and just try new. And again, from what we learned in the 5, we come into the 6. It's almost like we start to nurture like a garden. That's what the guides are showing me. Like we're starting to, really pay attention to the soil and the water, and there's nutrients we're putting into the soil and pulling out weeds. Like we're feeling this like sacred sense of responsibility and duty to things that are important to us. The other associations with this month are relationships and home and family. Those tend to be high up on the list of things that are important to people. So this nurturing energy naturally gets extended to these parts of our lives that are really important to us. So this month you might find themes and things happening with, whoever your family is. Maybe it's people who you live in a home with. Maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe it's with your close friends. Maybe it's with your partner. But this sense of how am I nurturing and caring for and being responsible to relationships is going to be a really big theme of this month. Every number has a light and a shadow side, as you could say. And the light side would be that this is a really great month to call in love, to call in relationships, just in general. So if that's been something that you've been manifesting, then the energy is great for it, according to the 6. The shadow side is that if there are relationships that are not aligned, those cracks are probably going to show and get emphasized even bigger, right? These energies expand all of the things that they touch. So if you're in one of those times where like love is really in alignment, it's going to expand in a really beautiful way. And if it's not, then what's not working is also going to expand, and things will probably show that they need to end, or whatever that needs to look like for that relationship. And again, even though those times can be really tough because we as humans really like to be attached to things and to outcomes the way that we want it, I would just encourage you to like come back into connection with yourself and trust that whatever's showing itself to you and whatever intuition is really telling you is the right way forward is ultimately only ever leading you to more love. The love that we're feeling is only ever expanding every moment that we're alive. So if we're choosing that path, hold on to that hope, even when things feel a little bit difficult. What I love about this energy is it feels very Venus influenced. It feels very Libra coded. So finding this balance between caring for ourselves and caring for people that we love is also something that's in the water this month. So yes, feeling that sense of responsibility and duty and commitment to the things that we care about and maybe our home spaces and our values is wonderful. Just remember, we are valuable to ourselves too. And that experience of all of that is generated in us. Like we have to tend to our own garden, the garden of us, first and foremost. We can't neglect the garden of ourselves and expect the gardens of things in other parts of our lives to thrive. It just doesn't happen like that. The way that everything is so connected, it does not bode well. So I really encourage you to play with what that could look like to keep your garden thriving as you're also trying to help the gardens of your relationships and maybe your career and other things that are important to you thrive. They're contingent on your garden thriving too. And finally, let's talk about the astrology for this month. Going to keep it pretty brief. This month, we're in Cancer season, which I personally love. I have a Cancer rising, and I'm realizing personally that when the sun is moving past my ascendant, and our ascendant, our rising sign, is how we look at the world, kind of like the lens that we view the world through. I find that I start to look at the world very differently come Cancer season. Like something about the sun illuminating that part of my own chart, like illuminates other ways to look at the world. I go through like really cool and big breakthroughs during Cancer season, which is really fun. So that's just an example of one way that you can connect the current astrology with your personal birth chart where the sun is illuminating, where in your chart is it illuminating, and maybe you can look back historically as how was that tended to feel and just be something cool to look at. But anyway, we're in Cancer season. Cancer is a water sign. It's very psychic. It's very sensitive. It's very intuitive, as are all of the water signs. Its flavor within that is the nurturer, very much like the six that we talked about, and the Queen of Cups, which again, we love to see the synchronicities when we do these episodes because we know that there are really big themes. There's a lot of consensus. There's a lot of synergy in that kind of energy. Cancer is the nurturer. It is the protector, particularly nurturing on an emotional level. Cancer becomes very attuned to what others are feeling and what they might need and feels very motivated to create a environment of safety, especially for those that they love. Now, they're also trying to create an environment of safety for themselves, hence the shell and the crab getting a little snappy, right? And finding the balance between those two things is definitely something that all cancers are always trying to figure out. But they have a deep well of love, that deep well of emotion and compassion for other people. I mean, it's not typical to have a good cry during Cancer season, especially being moved by like your empathy over something, right? It's a very common Cancer type of activity to be happening. I don't know anything about that at all. Of course I do. But yeah, being able to nurture yourself is like a huge part of Cancer. Cancer also has associations with the mother, like the archetype of the mother. So, what does that look like for you to mother yourself? Or when do you find yourself mothering people around you? And all of us do that, by the way. That is not restricted to gender. We all have times when the way that we care for other people is that sort of like emotional nurturing that mimics or mirrors that sort of mothering energy. Right. And we get to visit that energy within ourselves, within our own psyche during this month, during this season of Cancer. So my biggest advice is to let your feelings be felt and try to do them in ways that feel safe. If you got to spend some time alone for a minute, wrap yourself in a cozy blanket and have a good cry, have a good journal session, take a bath, eat some chocolate, like do things that feel soothing and nurturing to you as you move through some of those energies and maybe acknowledge some really sensitive things inside of you, or maybe ways that you've even been feeling sensitive about things outside of you. This is a really great season to do that. We have a new moon in Cancer on Friday, July 5th at 6:57 p.m. Eastern time. And that's going to be at 14 degrees of Cancer. So you can look to see where you have 14 degrees of Cancer, or the other zodiac signs it's going to activate is Capricorn, which is its polar opposite, or Aries and Libra, which are the other cardinal signs. So you can look to see if you have 14 degrees in any of those signs, and those are probably going to be particularly activated during this new moon. Remember, new moons are a time for self-connection, for contemplation, reflection, and intention setting, coming into connection with what is important to you, what feels instinctually important, as well as what feels like vitally important. Those are the two energies of the moon and the sun that become conjunct in the sky on a new moon, and setting an intention of what would feel important to you to keep top of mind to move through as you go through this next lunar cycle. Then we have a full moon in Cancer on Sunday, July 21st at 6:17 a.m. Eastern time at 29 degrees Capricorn. All of the signs I mentioned before, look for 29 degrees. That's what's going to be activated in that full moon. And the interesting thing about this full moon is that technically it's the second full moon in this cycle. And this is really cool because this is not something that is super common in that it happens like every month or every other month. It does tend to happen, I think, about once a year. But anyway, it is significant. We had two full moon cycles in this one Cancer lunar cycle. The last one that what we had would be exactly a month before this next one on June 21st. So what I might do if I was you, and what I'm definitely going to do, is I'm going to reflect what was happening on June 21st. What was I releasing? Where did it feel like there was some tension and things being revealed, right? These are all associations with that full moon type of energy. What was going on then? And how might that be almost like revisited in some way, or maybe like a deeper level of release happening around those things around July 21st when we're getting this lunation again. You've heard me talk about Capricorn and Cancer before. I really, really love this polarity. Cancer being how we care for people in that like sort of emotional, instinctual way, and Capricorn being a way that we care for people with service and with structure and guidelines and responsibility. It's like the cup that holds the water. Capricorn teaches us a lot about boundaries and rules and restrictions and how those can actually be of great service, and how our commitment to things and us being really efficient can be what yields results that can also be very good for other people and everybody. There's an association with legacy and community when we come with Capricorn. And Cancer, it's doing that same thing just in a different way. So again, as we're in the energy of the season, look to see where Cancer and Capricorn are in your chart, maybe what planets you have, and that'll tell you a little bit more about what energies are really at play here. And in general, the themes of nurturing and caring for yourself, for others, how to create safety, and also how you're creating safety for yourself through the ways that you're staying disciplined, or that you're holding boundaries, or you're honoring your own restrictions and trying to create longevity and the things that are important to you, or the things that you're offering other people. Just something to think about. So that is the energy forecast for July. I hope that you enjoyed this. It's fun to tap into the vibes of those different modalities. Love doing the tarot. So please book the tarot sessions with me. It's so fun to do tarot with you, even if you've never done it before. I love getting people who like it's their first time and they just like the thought of being able to, again, get some messages from their teams to support wherever they're already going. Right? Tarot is so much fun, of course, with the numerology and the astrology for the month. I hope you guys have a wonderful month. And at the very least, if all of this feels a little bit overwhelming, the best thing that we can ask ourselves is, what is this moment right now offering me? What's trying to emerge? How is Source Spirit trying to move through me in this moment? What is even happening in this moment? How can I observe this moment greater? That is like the simplest way we can move through anything, because all we ever have is now anyway. So us talking about the future sometimes can be a little silly, because all it ever is going to be now over and over and over again till we move to a different part in time. But as we reflect, or as we're moving through the now, we might find that some of these energies that came up today are supportive. They might pop into our brains as we're moving through something. And at the end of the day, my intention is that it's just supportive to you, and that it's something that helps you come back and find even deeper connection with yourself and your intuition and your soul, because the world needs the energy of your soul shined as brightly and as big as possible out into the world. So if this podcast or this episode in particular helps you do that, I'm so, so happy to hear that. And just know that I'm sending all of my love to you for this month of July. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode and for tuning in to Breakthroughs with Bree. Please share your favorite episodes with your friends and loved ones, and please like, subscribe, and rate the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it, as it helps me continue to create these episodes to help support your breakthroughs. I would love to stay connected with you, so please follow me on social media at Healing with Bree. Please check out my website at healingwithbree.net, which will always have the most up-to-date information about the services that I'm currently offering. And please consider using the link in the show descriptions to subscribe to my email list so you can be the first to hear about any offerings. You can get all of the free resources that I offer, as well as get my weekly channeled messages. My deepest love and gratitude to you, and I can't wait to have more breakthroughs with you next week.